Until 3 weeks ago, I was living what most would consider a simple and happy life. I'm a stay-at-home dad, probably on Reddit more than I care to admit. I met my wife, Noriko, or Nori for short, in Osaka, Japan 12 years ago during a work trip for an advertising agency. Shortly after we started dating, Nori was offered a senior position at her company's newly opened NYC branch. At the time, I was living in Connecticut but working remotely, so it was an easy decision to move in together in NYC. Plus, her mother has lived in Queens for the past 30 years, so it just made sense. 3 years later, we got married. The following spring, we had our son, Nicholas. Again, I'd like to emphasize that we've lived what I'd call a pretty normal life. We've had our ups and downs, but have never experienced anything quite like what I'm about to share. 3 weeks ago, Nicholas pulled this little gizmo out of his backpack. At first glance, it reminded me of a Tamagotchi, a little piece of plastic that easily could fit in your pocket. 3 or 4 little buttons on the bottom and a cheap display up top. However, the design wasn't colorful like I remember Tamagotchis being. It was obsidian black. From a distance, you could easily mistake it for some kind of medical device. And even stranger, I never could actually see any pet on the display. Either way, Nori and I hadn't any clue where he got it from. We presume a friend at school must have gifted it to him. He called it his tether pet and was nothing short of obsessed with it. I mean, I could understand. I remember getting a Tamagotchi for Christmas when I was his age. It felt like you were responsible for some other life form. Your relationship with the toy often felt like a life or death situation. Nikki was certainly under a similar spell. So, that same Sunday, we piled into Nori's Corolla and took the BQ Expressway to Mount Sinai Hospital in Queens to visit her mom, Aki, who's suffering from bone cancer. Nikki was in the back seat attending to his tether pet. "How's your Tamagotchi?" "Buddy? What?" "Your little pet there, Nikki, is normally eager to yap Nori and I's ear off about whatever his fascination of the day is, but for whatever reason, his tone was flat and serious when discussing his tether pet." "Fine." "Oh, yay? Do you have a name for him?" "It's a girl." "Oh, cool. What's her name?" "Baba, it came with the name. I didn't get to pick it." Nori tried to play along. "Baba? That's cute." "Not really. She's always hungry. And whenever she poops, I have to clean it up." I let out a laugh. "Reminds me of somebody I used to know." "No, Dad. It's a lot of responsibility. You wouldn't understand." Nori and I laughed. Oh, the simple joys of parenthood. We arrived at Aki's room only to be held back by a couple of nurses. They asked us to wait while Grandma's bedpan was changed. It saddened me to think about how Aki had wilted over the past year. It didn't seem. Long ago, she was in our living room bouncing Nikki on her knee, singing that silly old horse racing anthem. Bum da da bum da da bum 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 da da bum da da bum bum bum. Nikki loved that. He'd blow up in a fit of laughter every time. Now she couldn't even get out of her hospital bed. It crushed me. But I guess it had happened to me someday too. Before I could get too melancholy, a nurse opened the door with a smile. "She's ready to see you now." We stepped inside and there was Aki, still glowing, albeit dimly, with her usual tender smile. Nikki seemed to snap out of his fog with her in sight, running to her bedside. "Grandma!" Aki tried to roll over and muster a hug for his reception, but it was clearly too much for her. Nori and I followed close behind. This had become a very difficult ritual for Nori to get used to. Aki told us about how her treatment had been going, how she was always in pain, but that there was still a chance she could get through it. I don't know why, but I never had any real faith that she would. I guess I've just seen this scenario play out one too many times. In my experience, at least, it never ended how we all prayed each night that it would, after some more light conversation and updates on work, school, etc. Nikki pulled out his tether pet. "Oh, how are you liking the new toy Grandma gave you?" Nori and I looked at each other flabbergasted. Aki gave it to him? She could barely get out of bed, let alone go buy Nikki a toy from the store. "Aki? Where did you get that toy from?" I asked. "Oh, I think one of the doctors gave it to me. Yes, it's something they're giving to a lot of the patients around here. It didn't make any sense, but before I could ask more questions, a nurse came in and told us our time was up, and that Aki needed to get some rest. Nori and I had a couple conversations theorizing about why the hospital would have given her the toy. Maybe it was some charity connected to the hospital. Either way, we had more important things to worry about, so as the days went on, we let it go. Everything in our lives continued as normal until the day Nicky lost his tether pet. It was last week Friday. We were just sitting down for dinner when Nicky comes shuffling into the room looking on the verge of tears. I can't find my tether pet. Nori was setting the table. She had really went all out for us that evening. Okay, well, after dinner we can all take a look together to find it. Observing my son more closely, he wasn't just upset. He looked devastated. You don't understand, Mom. She could die if I don't. At this point, I decided it was time to do some fathering. I took a knee. Listen, Nicholas. I understand your toy is important to you, but it's just that, right? A toy. So let's sit down and eat the dinner Mama made us, and we can take a look after. Okay? I gave him that stern but tender look a father gives to ensure his way. Nicky nodded solemnly. I gave him a hug and a rub on the back. All throughout dinner, Nicky avoided our usual conversation starters. How was school? How was soccer practice? What do you want to do this weekend? Etc. It was clear his mind was racing. It really rubbed me the wrong way. I don't remember ever being this stressed about my Tamagotchi. Just then, Nori's phone rang. She moved to the edge of kitchen to take the call. I watched as her face slowly settled into a more serious expression as she listened to the other end. She responded with simple, short acknowledgments of what she was hearing as she walked over to the living room. She hung up and began to put on her coat. Everything okay, honey? I mouthed to her silently. Aki? She nodded. I think it should be fine, but if it becomes serious, I'll call you. Sounds good. I looked to Nicky and provided a distraction. Shall we look for Baba? Nicky nodded his head frantically, clearly unwilling to wait an even second longer. We looked around the house for quite some time. He was certain he had come home with it, so I was pretty determined to help him find it. It really felt like looking for a needle in a haystack, though. It wasn't until we were just about to give up that we found it, fallen beneath the shoe rack near his backpack. I thought for sure we'd have some small celebration of our efforts, but Nicky didn't even smile. He just picked it up and began to shake his head. Aw, man. What is it, buddy? Just a lot of buildup. Oh? Of what? Poop. I laughed. It's not funny, Dad. She could have suffocated. From the poop? I laughed even harder. I've always had a stupid sense of humor. Nicky, presumably offended by my not taking this seriously, retreated up to his room. Alone, I decided this would be good a time as any to pop on an old samurai movie for my own selfish pleasures. Plus, a 3-hour runtime would keep me up long. Enough in case Nori called. But about halfway into the movie, she came in the door, sopping wet. I guess it had started raining. She explained that everything ended up okay, a false alarm. I cut the movie short and we went to bed. As we laid together under the sheets, it was becoming clear she couldn't fall asleep. What's wrong, babe? When I got to Sinai today, Mom had an accident. Oh? Like she shit herself. I wasn't sure how to respond, but luckily she continued. What if we get so old or sick that some stranger has to literally wipe our ass? I chuckled. I mean, we probably will. She rolled over and looked at me with playful concern. I don't want a stranger to wipe my ass. So you're saying it has to be me? She finally broke into a giggle. Well, how about we just promise to take care of each other then? I kissed her on the cheek. Deal. The next few days were normal. Well, the new normal. Nicky seemingly had lost all interest in having friends over with his ongoing tether pet responsibilities. In fact, we even got an email from his soccer coach that he was absent-mindedly monitoring his device while on the sidelines. We used to get emails that he needed to stop hogging the ball so much. One evening, as we put him to bed, we explained that if his pet continued to affect his school participation, that we'd have no choice but to confiscate it from him. He appeared gravely disturbed by this notion. That'd make you a murderer. It was such an absurd thing to say, but he said it with such conviction. A conviction that I don't believe an 8-year-old should be able to feel. I'd soon understand why. Yesterday, around noon, Nikki's at school, Nori's at work. I get a call from the principal. Everything's fine. We just wanted to let you know that we needed to confiscate a toy from your son today, as it was distracting him from classwork. No parent ever enjoys these calls. I apologize, we've talked to him about this before. We'll have another chat about it tonight and make sure he gets the message. Would you like us to hold on to it for now, or send him home with it? God, I wish I could go back in time. Hold on to it. I knew Nikki would be furious, but as a father, I assumed this was a good opportunity for some tough love. Sure enough, when Nikki got home, he was in a panic. Dad, they took my Tether P pet away. She's gonna die, Dad. She's gonna die! I got on one knee and gave him my look. Even if it dies, it'll be okay because it's just a toy, right? You can always just start over. He started crying, as though really accepting the fact that this could really be the end for his pet. It's not just a toy, Dad. It feels real. It is real. Right then, it all clicked. Nicky wasn't grieving a toy. He was grieving his grandma. I felt a wave of relief, now seemingly able to connect the dots that didn't align to me before. I decided to make this a teaching moment. Nicholas. Death is hard. We're all facing that with Grandma right now, right? Nicky nodded knowingly. But it's a natural part of life. It's not wrong or bad. It's okay. It can feel sad to let somebody go. But everything really will be okay. Really? Come here, pal. I pulled him in for a hug. Death is what makes life special. It's what makes each moment count. It's a good thing. Snot was running down Nicky's nose onto my shoulder. But I don't want Baba to die. I know. Just then my phone began to ring. It was Nori. Hey, hon, what's up? The hospital just called me. I think it's happening. My heart stopped. I let go of Nicky. He stepped back, feeling my mood shift. What did they say? She's refused to eat or drink all day, including her medications. Then she had a seizure and has only been getting worse since then. Where's Nicky? Why did this feel familiar? This sensation. It was like déjà vu. I could feel myself freezing up. Nicky tapped my knee. Daddy? What's wrong? I blurted out, Honey, what was that name you called Mom as a baby? Nori seemed frustrated that I had ignored her question. Gaba? Or Baba, I think. Babe, you and Nicky need to meet me at Mount Sinai. A jolt of fear struck down my spine. All of a sudden, my mind felt like it was racing ahead of me. My mother-in-law's mortality being connected to a toy was quite the leap, I know. But in that moment, it truly felt crystal clear. How could this happen? It felt like the most basic rules of reality were simply torn out from under me. I had to move. Fast. We're on our way. A wall of obsidian clouds lay heavy above our neighborhood. Nicky and I piled into the car. Daddy, where are we going? We're going to see Grandma. But we'd take a quick detour first. Nicky looked afraid. Is Grandma gonna die, Daddy? I couldn't respond. What could I even say at that point? I'm supposed to be the voice of reason, but I felt like I was losing it. In fact, it had started raining and it took me 6 blocks to realize I didn't have my wipers on. We pulled up to the school entrance. Nicky, wait here. I leaped out of the car before Nicky could question my actions. I ran up to the glass double doors, pounding my fists in the rain. Hey, is there anybody in there? Nothing. I ran around the building towards the gymnasium. Locked. I was really starting to feel hopeless. I noticed a window slightly ajar on the 2nd story of the building. I tried scaling the wall, but the downpour made it impossible. Fuck, this was so stupid. It occurred to me that this really could just be a crazy coincidence. that my mother-in-law was dying right now, and I was here in the rain trying to break into an elementary school. But then I noticed a tetherball stand, held down by a weighted tire. I ran over to it, flipped it on its side, and with all my might pushed it towards the base of where the window was. I got a good grip on it and started to climb. If I could balance on the top, I should just be able to reach the windowsill. The rain made my hands slippery, but I just focused on Aki, on Baba. I felt a bellow of thunder rumble through the sky and knew my time was running out. Just as I reached the top, I heard, "Daddy! Daddy!" Nikki was standing at the base of the tetherball pole, clearly scared, drenched in the rain. I called out to him, "Wait right there, I'll be BAM!" A crack of blinding white light, and then total black. I don't remember anything after that, just some vague limbo of nothing. I woke up laid up in a hospital bed. My body was aching all over, craning my neck. Around I pieced together that I was in Mount Sinai Hospital in Queens. I had no idea how much time had passed. Nori and Nikki entered the room shortly after. My mind began to fill up with questions, but I was too weak to get them out. I just laid there in a daze. Nori started crying. Nikki stood like a statue, just staring at the floor. I felt like Lazarus, back from the dead. The first question I managed to ask was if Aki was still with us. She wasn't. A nurse joined us and explained to me that I had been struck by lightning on that tetherball pole. They'd need to run some additional testing that evening. My family doesn't know yet, but I am now suffering from electrical cardiomyopathy, aka my heart is fucked. As I write this, Nori and Nikki are asleep under the roof of our humble home, but I'm still here. I have no idea when I'll get out, and the more I look into my condition, the more I wonder if I even will. But this isn't the reason I'm sharing any of this is now. It's because of what just happened to me, only a couple hours ago now. A man came into my room while I was sleeping, unannounced. He looked like a doctor but didn't state himself as one. Simply, he placed his hand over mine. "Give it to someone you trust." Then he left. I could feel a soft plastic object left behind in my palm, but it was too dark to see. When suddenly a little display lit up. Bit text floated across the bright screen, "Fafa." The text faded, leaving only my own bloodshot eyes gazing back at myself. Nicholas used to call me that. I feel so lost right now. I feel so hopeless. I don't know what any of this means or what I'm supposed to do. If anyone has gone through something like this or knows someone who has, please tell me. I feel so alone. I don't want to die. I love you, Nori. I love you, Nicholas. Enjoy another amazing story. Bright fluorescence blinded me as they yanked the bag off my head, suddenly lighting up my world that had been dark for hours now. I was sat at a long conference table. The agents who had just taken the bag were withdrawing, back to the wall behind me. At the other end of the long, heavy wooden table was an older man. "Sorry about the shady spy stuff. Can't have anyone knowing where we operate, you know?" The older man chuckled. "Can I get you anything to drink? Coffee, tea, water?" My thoughts were racing. Everything about the past day wasn't making any damn sense. I was in my cell just a while ago, minding my own damn business, doing some reading. Then suddenly the guards come in, throw a sack over my head, and we're on our way. Then this bastard is the one to greet me. "Where the hell am I, man?" I asked, unsure of what was going on. "Ah, sorry, introductions," he said, waving a hand. "Name's Ronald, I'm kind of the guy in charge here. And you're Vincent. I've read your file, great thief, whistleblower for some really messed up stuff the Avarice Corporation was doing. Probably still is, but that's for another time. You've got a life sentence for trying to help people, am I right?" I blinked at him. "See, I think you shouldn't be punished for trying to help. Unfortunately, though, I can only pull so many strings before the government is knocking at my door. So, I need to have some help. You're going to help me, Vincent." He continued. "You ever wondered if we're alone in this world?" "I've hoped," I mumbled back. "Feels like there's going to be a hidden camera reveal any second, some dumbass comedian coming out to tell me I've been pranked. No such luck." "Well, we're not. The only thing is that it's not really this world, but another one almost. Exactly like it. Thousands of them, actually. Each one living out their own existence, unbothered by what's going on in ours," he said, motioning to someone outside the door behind him. A woman comes in holding a tray with 2 coffees, one of which she sets in front of me, the other in front of him. He nods in thanks before continuing. Now, one of these worlds managed to make a huge breakthrough. Unfortunately, they were beset by some apocalyptic situations. Now, the breakthrough they've made is useless to them, but could end up changing everything if we get hold of it. Are you following me so far? So, what is it that they found out? I asked. Classified. We need your help to retrieve it, though, he said, staring at me as he sipped his coffee. If I don't know what it is, how the hell am I supposed to retrieve it? I almost laughed here. Must have died in my sleep back in the prison. Maybe avarice finally sent someone to make sure. I stopped talking about them forever. Jesus, if this is heaven, it's an absolute joke. Oh, we'll give you all the information you need to find it, of course. We'll also be sending a team with you in order to get it. Highly trained personnel. Of our own, of course. He replied, Do you think we expect you to do this for free? We're willing to offer you quite a bit. I'm listening. Might as well play along. He's going to offer me a pardon, freedom, typical movie cliches. But he and I both know that as soon as I'm out, avarice is putting a bullet in my head. You get to die, he said now, making me almost spit out the sip of coffee I was going for. He laughed in response, raising a hand, in the public eye at least. We'll have you killed while in prison and get you a new identity. We're also willing to cover any living expenses you may incur and give a monthly stipend for your services for the rest of your life, so long as you let us keep an eye on you to ensure you're not oversharing with anyone. I took a moment, considering what he was saying. It wasn't like they were going to let me out anytime soon, and even if they did, it's not like avarice was going to just let me live my life in peace after all was said and done. A deep sigh was all I could manage. Fine. When do we leave? 2 hours. Do you want to eat first? We can get you anything you want. He replied, smiling and drumming on the table for a moment before getting up. Can you guys let him loose? There's no reason to keep him locked up. Long as the food's free, I guess. I sighed. About 30 minutes later, someone came walking in with a tray, a huge double cheeseburger with pepper jack and onion rings loaded on it, and an order of fries, accompanied by a caramel milkshake sitting on it. Considering I didn't know what's about to happen, I'm going to take what I can get. The rest of the time passed quickly, but I finished my food and started to nervously pace before they came to collect me, providing new clothes and a backpack of some basic supplies I requested. Before I knew it, I was being marched through the dim lights of this facility, finally stopping in front of what appeared to be an empty doorway. 5 others were waiting, guns slung over their shoulders, and combat gear on. Hey, shouldn't I get one of those too? I asked the guide who had brought me here. He only nodded, handing me a pistol. I looked at it, ejecting the magazine to make sure it was full before replacing it once more. That's it. They've got fucking assault rifles, dude. Let us handle the shooting, one of the guys said. He looked rough, a huge scar running down his forehead, through his eye and onto his left cheek. You just make sure we can get what we need. Still barely even know what the hell we need, I grumbled. Suddenly a loud, mechanical whirring began, though, and the doorway in front of us was no longer empty. There was a faint purple light coming from it, with darkness beyond. Jump is open. Let's head in. You... Another of the soldiers was speaking, now pointing to me. He had a huge bushy beard and sunglasses over his eyes, but I could still feel him staring me down. Stay in the middle of us at all times. I nod, moving further towards the center of the group. Beard and Scarface moved in front of me, stepping through the doorway with a slight buzzing sound as they passed through the dim purple light. The other 3 lined up behind me, motioning me forward. Before I went through, the guide who brought me handed me an earpiece, motioning for me to put it in. Can you hear me? I say, settling the piece into my ear. All 5 of the others. Grunt acknowledgement. Now come through, I hear Beard say in my ear. Deep breaths. Moving through the doorway feels like I'm stepping through a field of static as it engulfs me. My breath catches for a moment, unsure of what I might be getting into. Then suddenly, I'm clear again. Beard and Scar are waiting, there, the dark hallway engulfing them. As they each turn on a flashlight, I can see that this resembles the building we just came out of. The others follow behind me after a moment, stepping forward into the darkness and turning on their own lights. I fumble around in my bag, finally grabbing onto a small tactical beam of my own to light my way. We walked through the hallway briefly, darkness almost suffocating on every side. Beard finally raised a hand, motioning for everyone to stop where they were at the moment. We must have been near an exit, because sounds began to make their way towards us, and after a moment, the smell hit along with it. It was like the worst rot imaginable. Everywhere all at once as it filled my nostrils and made my eyes water. I've gotten whiffs of some nasty shit in my lifetime, but this... God, it was like someone took a deep freezer of meat and put it out in the Florida sun for a week unplugged. It was almost painful to smell, and it was unavoidable. I searched deep in my bag, looking for anything I could rip up and stuff up my nostrils. Nothing I had asked for in prep was going to cover this, though. God, what the fuck was it that could smell this bad from inside a building? Was it in here? Outside? Was that what we were supposed to be worried about while we're over here? Damn, Sims, your mom open her legs again? One of the soldiers quipped at another, causing the rest to snort with laughter. Simmons, a younger guy with graying stubble, rolled his eyes in the dim light. Your mom ever shut hers, Pierce? Simmons shot back, making the others nearly lose it. I couldn't find the humor considering how overpowering the smell was. All right, Scar said, raising a hand. He put his pack on the ground, pulling out a map. We were in a small city, not sure what state, but the point Scar marked was right in the middle, surrounded by small outlines of other buildings. He traced a line down the street, turning right 3 blocks down and continuing on for about 5 blocks before marking another building with a massive X. We've got to make it 8 blocks total before we hit our target area. It's not likely to be a simple walk, so be ready to take care of any threats along the way. Now I know all of you can smell that out there. That's what we need to be on our guard against. The hell is out there? I asked, looking each of them in the eyes in turn. At least tell me they gave all of you more information on what we were getting into. Fucking zombies, man, Simmons muttered. Seriously? Zombies? Some George Romero bullshit is what's waiting out there for us, I asked. When Ronald told me there was danger to the mission, I expected I don't know, enemy soldiers or just booby-trapped buildings or something. Jesus. The goddamn Walking Dead, brother, Pierce mumbled back. Look, it sounds insane, but all the zombie rules apply here. Don't get bit, don't get scratched, aim for the head, and whatever you do, don't get bit. Moment, I see one of you take a chomp off one of these bastards. I'm putting a bullet in your head. Consider it mercy, Beard said, deadly serious as he went over the threat awaiting us. So what do we do once we reach the target building? Pierce asked the commander. Mr. Mills here, Scar pointed at me now, is going to get into the computer system for us. Place is still running on backup gens, so we'll have to force our way in through the system. Normally, I would say we could just blow our way through with enough explosives, but, well, they have fail-safes on the lab area that would destroy what we're after if someone gets too close. We'll make sure you're not eaten while you get us in there. Once we're in, though, we grab the target, duck out of the building, and head here. Beard points to another X on the map, not far from the target destination. They'll have an extraction portal set up for us to jump right through. Let's make it out of this one alive and get home, understood? Sir, the others confirmed. I gave my own affirmation, slinging the pack back over my shoulder, hefting the gun in one hand and the flashlight in my other. We continued down the hallway, the sounds from outside growing louder now. Groans, moans, and the occasional scream split the air, telling me that nothing good was waiting for us out there. Beard opened the door, giving a signal for everyone to move, and we all filed out one by one, unsure of what would be waiting for us out there. The first thing I noticed was the light. It was dark out, not a star in sight, and only the occasional street light was still running to show the way. The sky above had an odd tint to it, though, almost scarlet like it was smeared with blood Ominous clouds moved across occasionally, dark and looking like they were going to burst with crimson rain at the slightest provocation. "Stay frosty," Scar mentioned as we turned, walking down the street. Buildings towered over us on each side, probably 10 floors at their tallest, and on occasion a scream of pain and terror would break through the still night air. Somewhere in the distance, a fire was glowing, sending up smoke with a smell that would occasionally cut through the stench of rot that filled my nostrils. We moved in silence, the smell doing everything it could to choke us. Even when I wanted to open my mouth and say something, the stench forced its way in, settling on my tongue, making me gag within seconds. Before long, we had gone 1 block, with the rest of the way seeming like miles and miles before us. "Hello?" A voice came from an alleyway nearby as we passed. "Help me, please." "Don't even think about it," Beard whispered to the rest of us. We all froze, looking at the alleyway as something moved deep in the darkness. A trash can fell over, louder than thunder as it clattered to the pavement nearby. A small figure walked out, shadows obscuring their entire body as they neared us. "Don't trust it." "It could be someone living, though," the 5th soldier mentioned. He didn't look nearly as battle-hardened as the others, and took a slight step towards the alleyway, even as Beard was motioning for him to get the hell back. "We have to help them, right? Step back." Scar muttered as he tried moving forward again. The shadowy figure coming towards us couldn't be older than a child, maybe 4.5 feet tall, thin and frail-looking. As it stepped closer out of the alley, the shadows around it began to dissipate, moving towards the young soldier. I almost threw up right then and there on the street. It was definitely a kid. Or at least, it was at one time. Now, though, it was something not quite dead but not necessarily alive either. The skin was mottled, a sickly pale white with the same odd sheen as a dead body. That itself wouldn't have been so bad, but the real horror was the lower jaw and upper body. Its mouth was hanging wide open, but the lower jaw was split, open at the chin, teeth inverting inward like pincers as the maw extended further down, opening into the thing's neck. Whatever bone it had in there now looked like jagged teeth. It stepped forward, taking the young soldier by surprise and falling on him, jagged teeth from the mouth down to his chest cavity suddenly emerging to tear into his skin. "So hungry." It moaned while taking a huge chunk out of the soldier. The rest of us froze in fear as it reared back, getting ready to take another huge bite as massive pincers emerged from the split as it opened up its chest rib bones extending out to stab into the soldier's body. Before it was able to, there was a soft pop as Beard emptied a round into the thing's forehead, leaving behind a crimson dot as it fell over, hopefully dead for real this time. "Fucking hell," Scar muttered, moving towards the young soldier, still writhing on the ground. His neck was torn by one of the big pincers, so he couldn't force air through his windpipe for a scream. Just labored wheezing, desperate to try and live. Scar gave him one brief look before popping a round into his head, ending his misery. "Sorry, kid." Screams rose up all around in response to the sounds of our skirmish. More of these things, sensing a meal moving around in their turf. Within seconds, we could hear the sounds of rough footsteps, ragged breathing, and the occasional gurgling scream running towards us for their next meal. "There's a grocery store we can cut through. Right over there, go, go!" Beard shouted, moving us all towards a supermarket on the corner, maybe a block ahead of where we needed to turn. Guess it was luck that the doors were unlocked. I stopped thinking we were lucky once we got inside. I don't know how long this place had been going to hell for, but it was long enough for everything left in this supermarket to become a health hazard. Dry goods and most of the stuff on the general shelves were okay, but the smell of rotting meat and produce was heavy in the air. Even worse, we couldn't go more than a few feet without an insane amount of flies buzzing all around, making it hard to breathe in the already thick stench of the rot. I zipped my jacket up all the way, sticking the collar over my face. The air was hot and heavier this way, but it was better than taking a ton of flies directly into my lungs as we walked. "We need to go through the back. There should be a loading dock that will let us out onto the next street," Pierce said, scanning the store with his flashlight. Empty registers still had items on them, abandoned midway through checkout. Only the occasional light was on, casting a dim glow over every fifth aisle or so as they flickered. I don't know what happened here, but the scene that was left only told us that it was gruesome. Puddles of blood lined the small aisle in front of the registers, smeared as whatever had left them behind must have gotten up to leave after being turned. Our footsteps echoed as we walked, the occasional squeak, on the floor nearly making me jump out of my damn skin. After everything that I had just seen, I was ready to make my way back to the damn door we came through and spend the rest of my days in a cell. Fuck this. Shh. Beard raised a hand, motioning for all of us to stop right then and there. I could hear something moving now despite our stillness, something else over the steady buzz of flies in the air. We moved our flashlights around, the bugs only making intense shadows across every aisle and wall in sight, as we tried to tell if we were alone. There was something scraping along, sliding on the ground with the occasional squeak as it went over puddles of blood on the floor. "The fuck is that?" Simmons whispered as we all shone our flashlights around, trying to tell what the hell was coming towards us. In moments, I had the answer. Coming from an aisle only a few feet to my right, something was crawling along the ground. Pale alabaster, skin shining in the flashlight beam, red smeared on it from passing through puddles of blood. It wasn't just one of the things, but many fused together. It was like they got pushed in too close together, and instead of just crushing each other, started to meld on a cellular level, dead flesh absorbing more and more of their peers. 3 heads looked at me, lifeless, gray eyes staring straight through, my soul in the flashlight beam. Each one suddenly opened their mouth, split lower jaw, a wide maw with sharp teeth clamoring out as if they were each alive looking for something new to devour, and let out a horrible scream. I don't know if their windpipes were fused as well, but it was so discordant that it sounded like someone blowing on a bagpipe without any sense of knowing how to play. It chilled me down to my core as it started crawling faster. Masses of legs and arms fused at joints where they shouldn't be rushing towards us in a mad frenzy. "Run!" Beard shouted, taking off towards the back of the store as we all rushed to follow. The mass of bodies let out another discordant scream as it gave chase, desperate to catch fresh prey. As we passed the meat coolers, full of flies, maggots, and rotten cuts of beef or pork or whatever they had been, this thing burst through the aisles behind, gaining on us like a bat out of hell. I don't know how it was so fast when it looked like a mangled mass of limbs, but it was getting closer. Too close. "In here!" Pierce shouted, motioning towards one of the swinging doors to the stockroom. We rushed through, Pierce holding. The door opened until everyone got in. As he let it swing back closed, it hit the abomination, causing it to let out a grunt of pain from every mouth. Before Pierce could follow behind us, though, it pushed through, rearing back for only a moment, as the door opened before shooting out a long, spiked tongue that wrapped around his foot. "Pierce!" Simmons shouted, starting to go back for him before Scar grabbed his shoulder, turning him back. There was an emergency exit door ahead, out salvation to get out of this hellish place. We had to move, though, before any of us could do anything. Pierce looked back, nearly emptying his clip into the creature that still had a grasp on him. More long tongues shot out from the other mouths on it, wrapping around his body as their spikes stuck into his flesh. Before it was able to reel him in, he grabbed the pistol on his hip, putting the barrel to his head and pulling the trigger. His body went limp as the thing staggered forward, throwing itself on top of him and starting to devour his remains. "Come on, out here!" Beard shouted, opening the emergency door for the rest of us. As soon as we were through, he shut it back, grabbing a nearby dumpster and pulling it over the doorway, keeping that thing inside where it couldn't come after us. "Thought you said it was just fucking zombies?" I shouted at him, falling back against the store wall. We were in a back alley, wider than the others, right next to a small loading dock where trucks could pull in. "That's not a fucking zombie, man. I don't know what the hell that was. I'm going off the briefing they gave me," he responded, almost out of breath. "Doesn't matter, though. We're here now. We can give Ronald an ass-kicking when we get back, but we have to make it back first." The 3 of us left could only grumble in agreement. Scar and Simmons looked pissed, and I can't say I blame them. When it comes down to it, though, we only have one way out of here. "Fine. Let's keep moving," Scar mumbled. We kept going, moving as quickly as possible through the alley and onto the street now, traversing the last few blocks toward the building that was our target. With any luck, we could get in and get out. Luck wasn't going to be on our side, though. Thanks for diving into this story with me. Don't miss out on the next one. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you think.